Good day, I am Kela S16 from BSSW1A of Group 1. Our topic is Global Gender Gap Index and the result of the National Demographic and Health Survey in 2021. And it is focuses in women. So today, I would be discussing the part about the Global Index Gap and the country coverage. So let's start. First, what is Global Gender Index Gap? The Global Gender Gap Index was first introduced by the World Economic Forum in 2006 to benchmark progress towards gender parity and compare countries' gender gaps across four dimensions: economic opportunities, education, health, and political leadership. By providing country rankings, the report incentivizes comparison across regions and countries and stimulates learning on the diverse of gender gaps and policies to close them. This year, 15th edition, continues to build on the methodology established with that inaugural report, offering a consistent metric to assess progress over time. As noted in the previous edition, significant data availability limitations prevent reflecting a non-binary view of gender gaps that covers the full spectrum of gender identities. As such, the index and the analysis remains focused on benchmarking progress on disparities between women and men across countries, and over time on economic, education, health, and political outcomes. Part 2, Country Coverage 2021 Benchmarking Gender Gaps. This year, the report expands the measurement of the global gender gap, adding 3 more countries: Afghanistan, Guyana, and Niger to the ranking. To be included, a country must have recent data available for a minimum of 12 indicators out of the 14 that comprise the index. Afghanistan, Guyana, and Niger have met the standards for the first time. With these 3 new additions, the ranking covers 156 countries. 107 have consistently been included in the index every year since first edition in 2016. So, that would be all. Thank you.
So the Global Gender Gap Index framework includes the economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. And this framework only includes women, excluding men. Ito yung pamantayan or level on how to judge a country when it comes to their gender gap index. And so globally, the global gender gap scored based on the population weight average for each of the 156 countries na nag-participate in the year 2021. They only gathered 67.7%, considering on the last year's 2020, they have only 107 countries, but they gathered 68%. So, mas bumaba kaunti yung percent when it comes nung pumasok yung 2021 compared nung 2020 na hindi pa nagkaroon ng pandemic. So, pandemic, isa yun sa mga factor kung bakit din lumiit yung percent when it comes to global gender gap, mga job opportunities when it comes to women, kasi yun nga, yung iba nawala ng trabaho ay nahirapan bumalik. This means that the remaining gap to close stands at 32.3%. So, instead na medyo bumaba yung gap na kailangan natin i-close, so tumaas siya into, meron tayong dapat habulin na 32.3%. On average, the gap has widened by most of 0.6%. So, malaki pa rin yung 0.6% points compared to the previous edition of the index. So this overall widening of the global gender gap is also reflected in the fact that the number of countries registering at least a marginal improvement is smaller than the number of the countries scoring a weaker performance in the year 2020. So, considering na 156 countries ang lumahok, ang ginudge noong 2021, mas maliit yung improvement niya kaysa yung mga taon na hindi pa pumasok yung pandemic. In the year 2020, mas humina o mas naging weaker yung performance nila in the year 2020, 2021 kasi nga pumasok yung pandemic. Out of the 153 countries and economies covered both 2021 and 2020, 98 improved their score while 55 have regressed or stalled. So 98 countries yung nag-excel and the rest 55 countries naging stagnant or yung iba hindi naka-forward because of the pandemic. So in the 2021 Global Gender Gap Rankings, scores and coverage for all 156 countries. Although no country has yet to achieve full gender parity or level into 100%, the top two countries remain Iceland and Finland. Sila yung since 2006 when the World Economic Forum na naboto, gender gap rankings, sila yung nangunguna when it comes to job opportunity, when it comes to yung pagsusulong ng gender gap, both men and women. So, they gathered at least 85% of their gap. So, while another 7 countries like Lithuania, Namibia, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, Rwanda, and Ireland have closed at least 80% of their gap for the year 2021. So, geographically, the global top 10 continues to be dominated by the Nordic countries. So, ito yung mga nasa north with Iceland, and again, Iceland and Norway and Finland and Sweden in the top 5. So, the top 10 is completed by one country from Asia Pacific, which is the New Zealand in the 4th place. And for the first time, Switzerland in the 10th place, first time to be ranked in the top 10 countries in the gender gap index. So, from out of nowhere in the gap, pumasok si Switzerland in the top 10 for the year 2021. So, even though nagkaroon ng pandemic, this countries still excel when it comes to gender global gap and continues to provide opportunities for women in those 4 aspects in the framework. So, the 5 most improved countries for the year 2021 are the Lithuania, Serbia, Timor-Leste, Togo, and United Arab Emirates. Even starting from the different level of gender parity or level, they improved their score by at least 4.4 points or more. So, they even though the pandemic hits, still, again they provide a lot of opportunities for women, especially for women. So, the Philippines has dropped from the 16th place to 17th place in the year 2021, gathering only the 78.4% of its overall gender gap. And this performance is the second best in East Asia and Pacific region, next to New Zealand, which is yung pang-apat siya sa ranking. So, not only has the Philippines virtually closed both in educational attainment and health survival gaps. So, ibig sabihin na-reach natin tong gap na to into 100% the educational attainment and health survival gaps. But it is also among the 18 countries in the world that have closed at least 79.5% of their economic participation and opportunity. So, ibig sabihin, we have at least 79.5% in 100 na close natin sa framework na economic participation and opportunity gap. So, there's only one framework that is left, yun yung political na aspect. This result is due to the part of the fact that the Philippines is one of the few countries that has closed at the same time its gender gap and senior rule. So, may mga opportunities na for the women to, excel in the senior rules in their participating jobs and in the professional and technical rules. However, women should be incentivized to participate more in the broader labor force kasi nga mas maliit yung mga sahod ng women kaysa men. One of the reason is that mas bigat yung trabaho ng mga lalaki kaysa mga babae. So only 49.1% of the women are in the job markets, corresponding to the gap closure of just 65.3% out of 100. On this indicator, similarly, income and the wage gap persists. Yun nga, maliit. So, some of the women in the Philippines are still not able to get a job kasi yung iba due to their culture. So, on the average of 2022 on the average of 22% of the wage gap and 31% of the income gap have yet to be closed. So, meron pa tayong 31% to be closed. When it comes to the political empowerment, so medyo behind tayo, only 36.2% of this gap has been closed. So, malaki-laki pa yung gap na habulin natin. So, nasa 60+% pa. So, despite having a woman as a head of state for over 15 of the past 50 years, there are still too few seats in the parliament held by women. So, 28% lang yun out of 100 and even fewer women among ministers. So, kasi nga, majority, marami pa rin yung men are serving or mas na as a culture in some of the religious groups are not accepting women and when it comes to ministering their people. So meron tayong 13% lang ang nagsiserve to minister and sa mga when it comes naman sa mga government offices, we have only 28% women are serving in our countries. So, because of, maybe of the culture in the Philippines na pag babae kasi weak, yun yung agad yung mindset. But, the rule of the gender gap is to really give opportunities, equal opportunities, not only for men, but also for women. At dito sa Pilipinas, unti-unti na yun nangyayari. And we're hoping for the next years, ma-close natin din yung gender gap when it comes to political empowerment. Just like the other framework sa economic, educational, and health survival na unti-unti nating nag-close dito sa Pilipinas.
In preliminary results from the 2017 National Demographic and Health Survey on Gender-Based Violence, 1 in every 4 women have ever experienced spousal violence. The results found out that 1 in every 4, or 26%, ever married women aged 15 to 49 years old has ever experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence by their husband or partner. 1 in every 5 or 20% women has ever experienced emotional violence. 14% has ever experienced physical violence and 5% has ever experienced sexual violence by their current or most recent husband or partner. Women experience with violence by a partner varies widely by region because of different causes such as alcohol, psychopathology and personality traits, sex and power motives, attitudes, social learning, and many more. In the In the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, or ARMM, there are only 7% of ever married women who are experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional violence by their last partner, compared with 52% of ever married women in Caraga. All forms of violence generally decline with increasing household wealth. Spousal violence refers to violence perpetrated by partners in a marital union. Since spousal or intimate partner violence is the most common form of violence for women ages 15 to 49 years old, the 2017 National Demographic and Health Survey collected detailed information on the different types of violence experienced. Currently, married women were asked about violence perpetrated by their current husband or partner, and formerly married women were asked about violence perpetrated by their most recent husband or partner. In the table 1 below, it shows the prevalence of different forms of violence experienced by every married woman ages 15 to 49 according to background characteristics of women. As observed, the percentage of women who have experienced violence in physical, sexual, and/or emotional form from their husband declines slightly with women's age. Women who are divorced, separated, or widowed are more likely to have experienced all forms of violence by their most recent partner compared with women who are married or living together. And 53% of the divorced, separated, or widowed women have ever experienced physical, sexual, or emotional violence compared with the 24% of women who are married or living together. The Republic Act number 9262, or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004, is one of the Philippine government's initiatives in addressing the issue on violence against women. Under this act, violence against women is classified as a public crime and penalizes all forms of abuse and violence within the family and intimate relationships. The NDHS is part of a worldwide survey program referred to as the Demographic and Health Survey Program. The international DHS program is designed to assist countries in conducting household sample surveys to periodically monitor changes in population health and nutrition and provide an international database that can be used by researchers in investigating topics related to population, health, and nutrition. The NDHS 2017 is a nationally representative survey of almost 31,000 households and 25,000 women ages 15 to 49. The survey was conducted from 14 of August to 27 of October of 2017, and the NDHS 2017 is the 11th in a series of demographic surveys undertaken in the Philippines since 1968. Funding for the NDHS 2017 was provided by the Government of the Philippines. The United States Agency for International Development provided technical assistance and equipment through ICF under the Demographic and Health Survey Program. A comprehensive final report will be disseminated by third quarter of that year. The Gender-Based Violence. The Gender-Based Violence Observatory aims to make GBV visible and to facilitate access to resources on GBV. It is a repository of data on GBV, not only on treaties, laws, and jurisprudence, but also of women's lived experience. It aims to make data work for women, girls, and LGBTQIA's human rights.
Conclusion. Gender-based violence remains pervasive in the Philippines despite passage of the key legislation such as Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Law, RA 9262, the amended Anti-Rape Law, RA 8333, the Magna Carta of Women, RA 9710, and the more recent Safe Public Spaces Law, RA 11313. The 2017 National Demographic and Health Survey shows that 1 out of 4 married women, again 15 to 49, have experienced any form of physical, sexual, or emotional violence by their current or most recent partners. Ito yung mga babae na nakakaranas ng pang-aabuso ng kanilang mga asawa. It is also shows that only 1/3 of women who experience physical or sexual violence sought help, and the common source of help was not with the authorities but with the woman's own family, 65%, and friends, 18%. So 1/3 of the women who experience to be abused. Recognizing the continuing prevalence of gender-based violence and the continuing challenge in women and girls' access to justice, the Commission on Human Rights established the Gender-Based Violence Observatory, GBVO, as among one of the 4 human rights observatory. So the Commission on Human Rights established the GBVO for those people who get violent or abused. The GBVO is envisioned as a resource hub for GBV. Our repository of GBV data, including domestic and international standards, and GBV researches report situationnaires documenting how laws are implemented and how GBV manifests in the life experience of women, girls, and members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex LGBTQI community. So the GBVO implemented for the women, girls, and member of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, and intersex LGBTQ community. The GBV Observatory is dynamic and reflects current challenges, context, and realities. It aims to hold not only report from Commission but also effort from the other government agencies, the academy, CSO, and other partners. It contributes to the fulfillment of the Commission mandate as Gender Ombudsman to monitor states' obligation in addressing GBV in the forwarding key policy recommendations. The GBVO aims for a deeper understanding of GBV, enhancing access to justice, and in general making data work for women, girls, and members of the LGBTQI community. So GBVO, which gender-based violence observatory is implemented because of the women's. Kung aabusuhin yung mga kababaihan, ito yung tatakbuhan nila. Dito sila hihingi ng tulong at mayroon din tutulong sa kanila para rin na lumaban.